The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you through our affiliate relationships with the following sponsors. Digital Accelerant, the digital mobile business card that generates leads. Text the word law to 21,000 to get connected and learn how to get your own digital business card. And by Fetch Internet and Fetch Pro, the secure, high-speed app that eliminates the need to pay for hotspots or use public unsecure Wi-Fi. And Printify, the online, on-demand print shop for all your corporate merchandise. Be sure to visit our online store and get your own podcast merch. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
You know, if I would find somebody that I really liked, I'd be like, I'll help you. Like, you don't have to pay me. Can I just help you? Can you teach me? Like, Can I just shadow you?
Yeah.
And it was more so like we went to like all these different meetup groups. I've been to like every meetup. I think that was on meetup.com.
There's a lot of real estate meetups.
There is. And I mean, it was good because like you meet people, and it's funny now being in it for a few years, it almost has like come full circle. Like we actually met somebody that lived in our apartment building even years, like while real estate was still an idea. And somehow or another, someone wanted to connect us this past week. And we got on a call and we were like, we know you.
This is when you were in the city in your other career?
Yeah,
and you guys were living in the same building?
Like, why do we know you? And so then we're like, oh my God, it's so funny. It really does. It comes full circle. And so it more was like, who are you talking to? How are you getting yourself out there? How are you putting yourself in uncomfortable situations that you're going to benefit from and learn from? Because that's really how you grow, especially as an entrepreneur, because it's not like there is like a plan of how to be an entrepreneur. It's not like,
no, that's the problem.
This is chapter 1. Like this is chapter 2.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work like that. And so I think,
there are fundamentals, things you should do, but they're all over the place. You got to kind of figure it out for yourself. If you meet the right people, find the right mentors, like you did in real estate, it kind of got you on the right path. If you don't, good luck to you. You know.
Exactly. So
the information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work. And they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode. Just to remind you, the podcast is produced and brought to you by my legal practice, Beinhacker Law. We provide business and estate services to entrepreneurs, inventors, and other small business owners. Whether you're just getting started or you've been operating for a long time, contact us for all your general legal needs, from contracts to client agreements, from purchasing a new location to onboarding a new partner or key employee. We draft all types of agreements and handle most business transactions. For more information about our products and services, visit beinhackerlaw.com, or you can follow our link in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's interview.
Hi, my name is Devinne. I am from Just Divine Properties in New Jersey, and I am excited to be here.
All right, Devinne. So thanks for coming on a Monday morning. Hope I didn't get you up early. You're an entrepreneur, so you should be able to sleep in on Mondays. But maybe that's the opposite, right? We should be up early and going. I don't know if I subscribe to that, like starting at 7 a.m. type of stuff.
I don't know. I've been up for a while already today. I feel like I do start my days pretty early. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate coming on my podcast. You had me on your podcast and on Podmax and all that great stuff. So I got to ask you the big question that's like looming in the room, right? How many people pronounce your first name correctly?
Nobody. That's why our company's name is Just Divine, because my name is Devinne and nobody pronounces it correctly. So we kind of played a little bit off of that just because.
Is that what they say?
Whatever.
They say Divine all the time.
Divine, Divinity. I get everything that you could possibly imagine. I kind of just answer it to it. And it kind of makes me happy because if somebody pronounces it wrong and they like pretend like they know me, I'm like, you actually don't know me,
Right.
but go ahead, keep going. Like pretend like you do. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it works for my benefit. I don't mind it.
That's very funny. Yeah. So, well, you can thank your parents for that, I guess, right?
Yeah. They added some extra letters and it made it confusing for everyone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My kids are Camden, Layton, and Aylin. The Layton we spell like the boys' way, double L-E-Y. Yeah. My daughter Aylin, A-Y-L-I-N-N. They pronounce it Aileen, Alan, all different ways.
Yeah.
It drives her crazy.
It's hard too when it's like, because Devin could be a boy's or a girl's name.
Yeah, right.
And so I feel like usually stereotypically, if it's like a boy's name, it's spelled one way. If it's a girl's name, it's spelled a different way. And I'm just in the middle of all of them. So they don't know if I'm a girl or a boy or how to pronounce my name.
I don't think you're the only girl, Devin, I've ever met. How do they spell it normally for girls?
D-E-V-I-N. I've seen D-E-V-Y-N.
Okay.
Is more of like
Dylan type of a thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Got it. All right. And we're talking about real estate, right? You and your fiance are big in the real estate business and flips and properties, investments, all that type of stuff.
Absolutely. Love it.
So tell me where where you're from originally and how you grew up on the streets of New Jersey, that type of stuff.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
No,
I am excited. I am born and raised in New Jersey. So born in Hunterdon County. Yes, born in Hunterdon County. I tried like a little bit to move out, tried to go to school in Pennsylvania. Then I moved down to Florida. I only lasted a few months. It didn't go well.
Didn't fit well for you?
Exactly. So I came back to where I am from and I ended up graduating from Rutgers University in New Brunswick. And then I started working full time in Manhattan as an event planner. It was always my dream to work as an event planner. I thought I was going to do like sports or weddings. I ended up in the financial industry in Lower Manhattan.
In corporate planning events for.
Exactly.
It's got to be dead right now, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still busy because a lot of it's virtual now.
So they're doing virtual planning of events. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just in a different kind of aspect. But I was there for over 7 years. It was always my dream to work in Manhattan, always my dream to live in the city, always my dream to, live that life that I thought I really wanted until I was there. And then I realized I didn't want it. That wasn't what I was wanted. That wasn't who I was. And so life hit me and my fiance sideways, and it kind of took us back to figure out a time when, like, what do we really want in life, and where do we want to be, and what are our goals, and stop doing what you're used to doing because it's not working. So let's get to a better place. And so that kind of brought us into real estate. And so we kind of found it in a weird way. We were trying to house hack and trying to get into it in a different way. The numbers weren't making sense to us. We realized we needed to invest, in education and really dive into it. And then from there, we started Justifying Properties, and it's been going strong for a few years now. And so we're super excited of where it's brought us so far and where it's going. And
when did you make that transition from the city to real estate?
I think it was like a gradual thing, if I'm being honest. So it's been about 3.5 years where I would say even almost 4 years where we decided that this isn't for us anymore. And where we
being
were
in the city, you mean?
Correct. Being in the city, working in hospitality. It sounds really glamorous. It sounds amazing. You're around, great things that people think is what you work for.
Right.
And it just gets to you after a while. It just gets like, I didn't like being at the events anymore. I didn't like going and socializing or networking with that like group.
Right.
Like it just didn't, I wasn't happy. So life hit us sideways. And then that was about, for 3.5 years. And then from there, we started trying to understand real estate. And then we officially started our company. It's been about 2.5 years now.
Okay. So because I remember I had a friend who was in event planning, like before 9/11. Yep. And there was a lot of money to throw around. I mean, she used to invite us to these events she used to do stuff for I don't remember, Bloomberg, Goldman, all the big companies, and the ridiculous amounts of money. My sister actually worked for Goldman. So, for Bloomberg. So we would go to that big holiday party they used to have. I think she used to spend $750,000 on the holiday party 20 years ago.
Yep.
And after 9/11, they obviously turned the whole, like, maybe we shouldn't spend $1 million on us. Maybe we should spend $1 million on like good works and things like that. So they changed that, but she's now moved up. But I remember the whole thing was just crazy with regard to the money that was being pushed around. But what got you I understand you were unhappy, you weren't happy in the circles you were in. And that's good because a lot of people just stay unhappy, right? Although the pandemic's probably pushed them now to make those decisions. But what made you be attracted to real estate? You guys could have done a lot of stuff, right? You could have just looked for another job and made a transition. What got you to real estate?
Yeah. So to touch on your part about budgets too, I think it's so interesting because now when I'm doing $1 million projects for real estate, I always say, I've managed millions of dollars of projects and big budgets that have been, 6 months to a year to longer than that. And so to your point, yes, they have very nice budgets and I'm used to managing those.
Well, there's a lot of moving parts too with those events. There's tons of stuff. Yeah. Exactly. And so when it comes to real estate, I do feel like, especially being on the investor side and everything that I kind of do, I do feel like I take a lot of the skills that I've learned from event planning and I'm able to utilize it in real estate as well. So it does still work hand in hand. It's just in a different industry, I feel like. Okay.
But to your question, why real estate, I guess. So when I grew up, my parents had a few rental properties in Bernardsville.
Okay.
And those properties actually paid for my college and my brother's college. And so I saw what it could do for people and how it could help, and it was there. And my parents managed it themselves. And could it have been done in a couple different ways that probably could have gotten their hands freed a little bit more? Yes. But at the same time, they really, they benefited from it a lot. They had 3 apartments. It paid for our college. And then,
nice.
It had my parents had a savings then for when I got married or when my brother got married, or if something were to happen or, that money was there because of real estate. And so when I was kind of seeing the bigger goals, in life and what I wanted, real estate just seemed like it made sense. And yeah, does everyone grow up watching all the HGTV shows?
No, but I did too, but my parents weren't in real estate at all. I didn't have any experience with it. So you had experience with it.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of experience of it. And then I just, honestly, I really liked it. I liked watching the shows. I liked watching what it was. I loved, I was always that person, not to sound creepy, but you're driving and I'm looking at in people's houses, what does it look like? It's just so pretty. And it wasn't I was trying to creep on people. It was more so I was so
getting out of the car and looking in the window.
Yeah. I'm that person,
the stalker.
I'm kidding. Never. But right. I was more interested in, in what architecture was in houses and what the designs looked like. And my mom is a very creative person. And so I grew up with her always decorating different things and doing things that weren't normal per se. So the design always intrigued me. And so,
well, are you doing construction now? Are you building stuff?
Yeah, so we're doing kind of a wide
renovations and stuff.
Yeah, so we kind of focus to do 1 to 2 larger flips a year, and that is more so bringing it down to the foundation, either doing a new build or building on existing foundation, doing big additions. So we try to do that, and then on the other side of it, we also try to do 3 to 5 smaller projects a year, and so those are more cosmetic. So going. Not really changing the foundation, but maybe opening a wall, closing a wall, and then obviously updating all of the fixtures and appliances and floors inside. So we do focus a little bit on both ends. So it gives us a good, chance to be able to use our creative minds and really change the layout and change the look of things. And it's so fun to see, even if I always say, even if you paint the walls, it's going to look different.
Sure.
So it's
freshen it up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fun to kind of go in there and then also pick everything that goes into the house.
Right. On the design side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit because this is an entrepreneur's podcast, right? So
Yeah.
it's all about business owners and business and the mistakes people made. So you're in corporate, right? You don't really have a business background, but you certainly have a planning background, which helps. Probably that's better. And did you guys sit down and were your fiance's name is Justin, right? Justin.
Correct. Yes.
Got it.
Justin.
Okay.
Yep.
So did you guys sit down and say, okay, well, we're not going to do this. We hate what we're doing. Did you write a business plan? What kind of plans did you make? How did you strategically say, okay, we're going to do, or did you just like, woohoo, wing it?
So Justin and I complement each other well in this because I am that person that writes down the business plan. I'm the one that has all the contracts together. I'm the one that has everything that you could possibly need all together in one place. And it's all like neatly in folders and everything's labeled. Like that is me. And so Justin is more, he's the one that kind of pushes me because I'm more so focused on the smaller parts in that role. And so he pushes me to kind of keep going and to get more properties and to expand and how to do it. And so we work well together in that aspect, sometimes butt heads, but overall it works well. But what did we do? I will say we actually invested in our education because there was so much we didn't know about real estate. And we found like a company that we felt comfortable with, and our friends actually had been a part of it. And so it was more so just like learning and diving into like the bigger pockets, diving into whatever that we could learn. They
have like courses and seminars and things like that?
Yeah, exactly. And then honestly, just finding people that you knew, trusted, and webinars, master classes, anything that they put out. Like I was like a sponge to that, like taking in everything. I would, if I would find somebody that I really liked, I'd be like, I'll help you. Like, you don't have to pay me. Can I just help you? Can you teach me? Like, Can I just shadow you?
Yeah.
And it was more so like we went to like all these different meetup groups. I've been to like every meetup. I think that was on meetup.com.
There's a lot of real estate meetups.
There is. And I mean, it was good because like you meet people, and it's funny now being in it for a few years, it almost has like come full circle. Like we actually met somebody that lived in our apartment building even years, like while real estate was still an idea, and somehow or another, someone wanted to connect us this past week, and we got on a call and we were like, we know you.
This is when you were in the city in your other career?
Yeah,
and you guys were living in the same building?
Like, why do we know you? And so then we're like, oh my God, it's so funny. It really does. It comes full circle. And so it more was like, who are you talking to? How are you getting yourself out there? How are you putting yourself in uncomfortable situations that you're going to benefit from and learn from? Because that's really how you grow, especially as an entrepreneur, because it's not like there is like a plan of how to be an entrepreneur. It's not like,
no, that's the problem.
This is chapter 1. Like this is chapter 2.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work like that. And so I think,
there are fundamentals, things you should do, but they're all over the place. You got to kind of figure it out for yourself. If you meet the right people, find the right mentors, like you did in real estate, kind of got you on the right path. If you don't, good luck to you.
Exactly.
That's
so
the problem.
Yeah, we got a coach who's now like a good friend of ours too. And she helped us a ton in the beginning, especially.
Did she know real estate, or was she just a business coach? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, nope. She was in real estate. She was an investor as well. She was on HGTV. She had been super successful in real estate and kind of was going into the coaching program now as well. And so it worked out really well because we learned a ton from her, and she's a good friend of ours now. And we've both been able to introduce each other to other people in the business. So it's been hugely beneficial.
So do you remember the first project you did?
Yeah.
And how many did you have to look at before you like pulled the trigger on the first one? Do you remember? It had to be a lot, I would guess, right?
I will say we did. We looked at a lot, and I think that's when we decided we needed to really invest our time and our money into education, because we were looking at a lot and the numbers weren't making sense to us. Like it didn't.
I see. So you started right out looking at properties, and you like didn't have the background in education yet.
Yes.
We
yeah, it just, the numbers didn't make sense. And we're like, how does this work? Like, we're missing something, like something's not getting put together well. So we ended up, our first property, actually, we knocked it down to the foundation and built a 2,400 or 2,800 square foot house.
Your first project was a construction project?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I don't know if people would recommend you do that.
I was going to say, is it what I would recommend to people? I don't know. I will say that it actually benefited us a lot because we learned.
Oh, yeah. You learned a ton.
We learned a ton in the first project.
Yeah.
We had to fire contractors. We had to, like, everything that you could possibly imagine it has to do in a project.
Right.
We probably went through. So, looking back at it, I'm really grateful that we did that. We learned a ton. It was really stressful. It was really hard, but it was really fun. And we learned so much that I wouldn't change it for anything.
But you wouldn't recommend to people getting started, like go out, tear a house down and put up a 2,800 square foot house. That's a big house, by the way.
It is a big house. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm on the fence of it because one part is like, if you're going to do it, dive all in. The other part is, you should probably kind of ease into it.
Well, I mean, there's so many moving parts. There's so many chances for mistakes, for people to take advantage of you, for you to, I mean, you're very organized and that helps a lot because I work on projects all the time for clients. And I'm like, listen, if you're dealing with contractors, subcontractors, if they don't give it to you in writing, send them an email and put it in a book. Keep a binder that says that. And they go, no, we didn't agree to that. Oh, yeah. Remember this email I sent you on October 28th and last year? And, so it's at least gives you some more control, but it's definitely a lot of, I think we talked about this on the other podcast. Like people don't know what mechanics liens are and lien waivers.
Yep.
Sometimes you learn that the hard way and you go to close and you realize there's 4 liens on the property. You're like, what? And you find out that the contractor didn't pay the electrician, the plumber they brought in or something like that,
Exactly. Yeah. No, we honestly, I will say from my event planning days, like it was so strictly, especially because we were a financial firm. We, worked in Manhattan. Like we were always like, I learned a lot about contracting and about negotiations and about what clauses need to be in contracts and making sure everything's in writing. And so I think it drives everyone a little crazy, but at the same time, it really has saved us in so many different ways. So
of course
it's necessary. And so I'm not going to stop it just because I'm now friendly with our contractor. No, it's going to be in writing and you're going to sign it.
Yeah.
Or we're going to find somebody else.
And if he's your friend, there's no reason why he shouldn't sign it.
Exactly. And
what, you don't trust me? No, I people don't remember things properly. You'll remember, I'll remember, both mean well. Got to have it in writing.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, what's that game when it's like telephone, when somebody tells you something
and at the end, it's totally not even close.
Exactly. And I'm like, no. Nothing. Like I don't have the best memory. Like I'd rather it down in writing too, so I can look back at it and say,
you want the pressure of remembering every conversation you had with every contractor and builder and sub that you deal with? Come on. That's a ridiculous way to live.
Right. Like, did you catch me at a good time or did you catch me at like a time when like my head's like spinning? Like, I don't know what he said.
Yeah, I think unfortunately some of the unscrupulous contractors who deal with like homeowners and things like that, and that's why there's a lot of these laws on the books.
Yeah.
They take advantage of this stuff, the fact that it's all loosey-goosey, the fact that they know the homeowner won't really remember and they can squeeze a little bit out here, squeeze a little bit out there. But if you have everything in writing and your books are good and your records are good and, you get lien waivers when they pay subs and things like that, you won't have any issues. There won't be any arguments or they won't have a choice. I mean, whether they disagree with you or not, you'll have it in writing, be like, look, you signed it this day. This is what we agreed to. I don't remember it that way. Well, obviously that's what it is because you signed it and so did I.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, people look, I think in your business, if you take the real estate business in the under $500,000 project, world, there's a lot of like small builders who talk to their buddy who introduces them to a friend and says, hey, we're building up this house. It's 200,000. I have the house. You put up the 200,000 for the materials and then we'll split the profits. And that's like it. There's nothing in writing. The guy putting up the money can't keep track of what the builder really spent because he's giving him little slips and stuff. There's no accounting, no numbers, and it leads to just disaster. Because it's very easy to say, oh, well, these are our expenses were 150, really 100, but they took another 50. I had a deal I was brought in on where they go to close and the investor finds that there's a lien against the property for like another 50,000. And the builder says, well, I had to borrow money from a friend of mine for some more materials. So we got to pay him. But my guy didn't know if that was true or not. Maybe he said to his friend, listen, let's put a $50,000 lien on the property. We'll split it. It takes money out of my guy. And it was a mess. Yeah.
It is. It's true. And that's why, it's obviously, but like for me, I always say, I'm like, just sign the paper, like, or we'll find somebody that is comfortable with it. And, I'm very grateful for the team that we have surrounding us now. And they're all very, knock on wood, very trustworthy. And we're honestly like friends with a lot of them now. And nobody has a problem with signing any contracts. They laugh at me because I'm the one that comes with like a folder and I'm like, I have the paperwork. And they're like, yep, here she is. She's
right. But that's good. They have that expectation. Like, here comes Devin, but that's good. I think there's a lot of situations where people are just like, they're afraid to like bring it up. Well, good luck telling a judge. Well, I just wasn't comfortable asking them to sign that. Well, okay.
Exactly.
What do you want me to do with that?
Exactly. So we fired contractors, we fired different subs, we've fired people. And, to your point, like we have a lien waiver that's signed after each draw too, to say like, these people were paid for this amount, we're giving you this money and this money has been paid.
Right.
So we do sign a lien waiver after each time that we pay. And
just for people listening, what a lien waiver is, I'm a lawyer, is basically you're getting the sub to sign, or the contractor, whoever did the work, to sign a piece of paper that said they did the work and they were paid. So they can't go out and then mysteriously put a lien on your property. And if they did, the laws are very onerous on them for doing it fraudulently. So you get those things when you're doing a project, even if you're the homeowner, you make sure your contractor gets lien waivers so you don't have those problems later on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Then what are they going to say? You didn't pay me? Yes, I did. Here's the paper to prove it.
Exactly. Yeah. That, and before, so we have a contract, but then we also collect all tax forms. So we collect the W-9 so that when I'm going to 1099 you later, I have all that information. I don't have to chase you, or you don't have, like, I don't have to then you not answer me for months because like, what I'm doing, no, give it to me up front. And if you don't want to, you're a business owner too. So if you're not going to file taxes on the work that you're doing, I'm not paying your taxes. And so it's more having all that information up front. And for us, like we do hire a general contractor. We love, we actually work with 2 different general contractors and we love them. They've been really great to us. And we do sub out some of our own stuff as well, just because, we have some subs that we really like to work with, and they're not like our GC's typical subs that they work with, but they work well together. But that's just more on us. And if we want to sub them out and we want to pay them and we want to do all that paperwork for it, it may be because like there's a better price, it's a good relationship, or, like there could be a million different reasons, but we do sub out some of our stuff on our own. But
your GC doesn't deal in cash to these guys.
No.
I've been involved in some deals where there's cash going all over the place. And then the guy says, I wasn't paid. And they get good luck proving it.
Yeah, no, it's all a money trail. You can see everything. We do a lot of
like
it
a real business almost.
Yeah, we do. As much as I don't love checks, we do a lot by checks just because it's easier to trace, I feel like, and I could track it. And then when I'm doing like the bookkeeping, if I don't have anything written down in my bank account, I could pull up what the check is. So we do that. We some other but most of it is not done unless we're buying materials. A lot of it's not done by card just because that could get messy too.
Credit card?
Yeah. So like materials and stuff, like we'll sometimes buy cards just to, for our business credit. But other than that.
Right. But you still want to keep it on the business and you want to see that it was Home Depot or whatever.
Exactly.
Buying the materials. Yeah. I think a lot of people, it's funny. I think a lot of people who went into real estate, they had like one experience, which they didn't do well to begin with. And they're like, oh, it's terrible. I lost my shirt. I was plumbing out toilets in the middle of the night and the builder took advantage. But they don't spend the time. I think you guys spent the time learning about the business and about real estate itself. I think there's a lot to be said for people that kind of dabble. Let's use that word, right? And their whole experience is it's terrible. Like, well, what did you own? Well, we had this 1-family house or 2-family house and it was just a nightmare. I'm like, that's your whole experience in real estate? Did you take a course? Did you buy other property? No, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's not for them,
I mean, there's a lot to learn about real estate. There is a lot of risk, but the risk also is backed. It's backed by real estate. So it's not like you're going into it and, you're not creating something from scratch that like nobody knows of. And you're like, invest in my invention. It's not like that. It's like you're backed by real estate. So we do work with different lenders, and like the lenders always, they know like there's an asset at stake. So they're more open to wanting to lend or wanting to partner with us, or, so it is like it's a business that is beneficial, I feel like, to all parties. And it's something that, to your point, there is a lot to learn about it. It's not just like, okay, let's buy a house and renovate it. There's like, with that statement right there, I can easily put together like 1,000 questions. And like, I'm like the queen of questions. And so like making sure that there's so much like at stake and so much, and time is money too. And so it's more so like having everything in line, knowing when certain things are happening. And then if it doesn't happen, okay, why didn't it happen at that time? We understand construction changes and things change, but at the same time, we have to keep going. So what's next? And like, how do we get there? Right. So it's definitely, it's a fun industry for me. I love it.
Now, do you have properties that you rent out that you've bought, renovated, and kept, or you mostly buy and sell, or?
Yeah. So we actually have our first property that we're doing the BRRRR on. And actually, we're closing the end of this month, and so we're buying it, renovating it, and renting it. We'll refinance it and
first rental
later. Okay. Yeah. So we're closing later this month. That's our first one that we're going to keep for a rental, and either do like a long-term rental or Airbnb. We're kind of going back and forth right now. But
so what made this one more of a rental than the other ones that you didn't keep, or you're just in a different mode or something?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I want to keep every property because like at the end of it, I'm like, this one's great. This is my favorite. And then the next one comes, I'm like, this one's amazing. But no, I mean, this one is more, it's actually close to where we live. It's on a river. So it's more of, my fiance is big into fishing. And so it's on the river. There's all these different fishing groups around here. People come out here to fish all the time. And so it's more of, we're going to keep it as a rental and tap into those fishing markets and fishing clubs and see kind of who we can get there. I think long-term, it might be a property that maybe we live in for a little bit as well. Oh, okay. I have no idea. But it's a property that it's, we got it for $100,000 less than what it was listed for. And it just made sense. And
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
So it backs up into the Columbia Trail, which is a trail by us that is just a beautiful trail that goes between different in the county. And it's just a really cool, it's like a cabin in the woods on a river. It's just really pretty. So if
so is this like somebody rents to go fishing for the weekend, or somebody's gonna?
It's a great, so we actually own, so it's on the street, and on the other side of the street is the river. So we actually own part of the river with the house as well. So you have like a secluded area on the river that you can really put chairs and kind of make it your own too. And so it's a really cool property. And so, yes, you can fish for the weekend. It's like a nice little cabin to get away and have like a peace of mind, especially like if you're in city life and want to get away. It's by all of like the orchards that people come out for. So it's it's in a great location, and we're super excited for it. So we're kind of trying to figure out, like, do we furnish it and do an Airbnb right now, or do we get a long-term, short-term rental in there for now, or do we really partner up with different fishing clubs and see how we can kind of mutually benefit from that as well. But that will be our first rental, which isn't, I guess, your typical rental, but it was just like, saw it, we got it for a great price. We're super excited.
It's not like a 2-family house. You sign a 2-year lease and you got
exactly. So it's a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and it's just like it's super cute. It's a great property. There's a lot of land there, and it's exciting. So that will be our first rental that we're closing later this month.
And you're all out in Hunterdon County. That's all your properties are out there. The properties that you bought?
No, actually, this is the first one that's in Hunterdon County. So we focus mainly on Morris and Union counties.
Okay.
And so we have one property in Chatham, New Jersey right now that will be finished, I believe, early December. We're aiming for.
Soon. Okay.
Yeah. So soon. Yep. And then we have one in.
Is that on the market already?
It's coming soon.
You're waiting.
Shortly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have all our inspections this week. And so then once we do inspections, landscaping is happening this week too. And then once the walls are all closed out, we'll probably put a coming soon sign out just to start getting some traction for it.
Yeah. So it looks nice.
Anyone knows it's all en suite. We're super excited. If anyone has someone in the market for it's a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath. So we're really excited for that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's a word from our sponsors. Uplift your marketing and reinforce your brand with a digital business card from Digital Accelerant. Use a text marketing combination to stand out in front of your competition. Digital business cards make you memorable and most of all help you bring in new business through its warm lead generator. Motion graphics, intro, outro, and inspirational videos can be added during setup. Text the word LAW to 21,000. That's LAW to 21000 to learn how to get your own digital business card. Suffering from slow internet speed? Worried about hackers? Fetch Pro gets the internet from your smartphone to your Windows and Mac computer without paying for a hotspot. Always get the fastest, most stable, and secure internet access on your computer with Fetch Pro. Follow their affiliate link on our website to learn more and get connected with Fetch. Printify is the online service that simplifies and automates the process of sourcing and creating print-on-demand products branded with your company logo, product, or service. Printify is a better alternative to pre-purchasing and warehousing your merchandise for distribution or sale. Follow their link from our website to learn how to set up your own online store. And be sure to visit our online store and get yourself some podcast merch. Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show.
So that one is coming soon, which is amazing. It's a beautiful property. And then we have one in Union as well. So Union Township, that one actually will be done by Thanksgiving also. And then we are purchasing another one closing early December in Union also. And
to renovate, to redo.
To renovate. Yep, okay. Exactly. That one we got off market. And we actually might prehab it and sell it to an investor or rehab it, 2 different exit strategies right now for it. And then our 5th project is back in Hunterdon County. A homeowner actually hired us and we are renovating their whole first floor for them. So I'm doing all the design work, picking all the fixtures for them, and then we're bringing in our contractors to do the work. So it's been really cool that we've actually had a lot of homeowners reach out to us to see if we would, do the design for them and bring in our crews and work with them. So we've had people reach out to us saying, if I buy a property, will you build the house for me? Or if I... they'll be like, I really like the look of like the houses that you, or the layouts that you've done or the looks that you've done. Can we work with you? So we have a bunch in the works there, which is super exciting and something I didn't really see for our business.
So that's just a contractor job. You're not not owning the property.
Yeah. So we don't own the property. We are, we're kind of like the middleman in a way. So they hire us and we hire our contractor. And I do all of the design. I'll work with the architects. I'll pick all the fixtures still. Like I'm still big on and I don't think I'll ever give that up. Like I pick everything from like the toilet paper holder to the knobs that go on the kitchen to, I do design the whole thing and pick all of the fixtures that go into the house. So they hired us to essentially do all of that. And then we bring in our contractors and we contract out the contractors.
So you were the home improvement contractor then. You're the one licensed through the Division of Consumer Affairs?
So we're the ones that we're like the designer, really, essentially.
Okay.
So we're not doing like the contracting work.
Right. You're hiring them to do the carpentry work and the drywall. But
they're
you're
hiring
basically
essentially
GC,
as
right?
the designer.
You're the designer. They're the GC?
Correct.
Okay. So it's like a design build type of contract.
Exactly. So it's not a branch of the business that honestly that we saw for ourselves in the beginning or that we wanted to get into. But once it kind of presented itself, we're like, yes, this is amazing. This is exactly like what I love to do. And so, it's an honor that homeowners think of us and want to work with us.
So how did they find you? How did that happen?
It's a really weird story. So there's this beautiful house. And I say beautiful, it's vacant. It's run down, really in bad shape, but I could see the potential for it. And so Justin, my fiance, it's on a river also. And he had been like looking at this house for like over a year. We've tried to find the homeowners of it. We've mailed to like the people.
Oh, it's like an abandoned property?
It's abandoned. It's in such bad shape. I think it's beautiful because you could see the potential of it. But we've tried to mail to the taxpayers. We've tried to mail to the town. We've called the town who owns it. We can't find anyone. Lo and behold, he literally would go to that house all the time because he'd be fishing on the river. He met the people across the street and now became friends with them. And so we're actually good friends with their family. And it's been over a year now. They actually just went on a fishing trip together this past weekend. So it's like it's a small world. We ended up finding the owners, and it is an investor who's been carrying it. I think they're renovating it themselves, but there hasn't been any action on it for over a year. So I'm not too sure what's really going on with it. But we did try to buy it. But anyway, that's how we met this family. And so then they started watching our work and finding our work out. And they were funny because they were like our eyes and ears too, because like a sign then went out of that door. There was activity and he's like, hey, go over the property. Like I see someone.
Yeah.
So it's a small world, but yeah. So they ended up hiring us now to do the whole first floor and the exterior of their house. And so I am picking all of the finishes and designing and meeting with architects to make it what they want.
It's funny. Real estate's fun like that. There was a project I was working on. It was a camp upstate out in Pennsylvania, like near, I forget, like over the Delaware Water Gap and like Route 80, that type of area.
Yeah.
And we were looking to buy it. It was a group of us. We never bought it, but I was looking for a camp at the time, like a summer camp, I forget how I even found this property, but we used to look online. There's nothing you can find. You got to go through brokerage. Camps are either very expensive because they're operating or they're run down and they just dump and they need a ton of money.
Yep.
So I forget I found some post from several years ago for this camp that had closed down, and I figured it's probably still. And I started doing research, and it's like, you pull up, you go to some map and you find the property itself, and then you trace it back to who used to own the property. And then you find some environmental study that's done, and there's a name of a person who was the engineer, and then you call them and they say, well, I was through this attorney. You call the attorney and says, oh, that's the old family's whatever. Yeah. And I did eventually find the whole story and the bank that held the note and then the guy that eventually bought it. Because I contacted him and he's like, how did you know about me? I'm like, well, I did, and I found the mortgage, and the mortgage led me to the deed, and then it led me to an LLC, and I looked up the LLC and I found your name signed in the LLC. He's like, wow. But there's a lot of stuff, especially online nowadays, that you can do to investigate and kind of dig through it. But sometimes it's difficult.
It is.
You did the old-fashioned way. That was good.
It kind of makes it fun, but yeah, no, it's to your point. I mean, yeah, we mailed, we called, we looked up every LLC that was on it. It's fun. And then it kind of makes for a good story too. Cause I feel like each property that you get, or like for us, like each property we get, it's like, there is such like a story behind it. I mean, there's
a history.
It's a home. It's someone's, it's someone's lives.
You grew up there at one point, right?
Yeah. And so it's fun to be able to kind of keep that going in a different way, or, like keep that alive. I mean, even like our property in Chatham. So the homeowner had passed away. We're actually really good friends with the neighbor now. And she was really good friends with the homeowner. She needed a new front door. And so like I'm like, what do you want in this house that would like make you happy? Like
we're renovating the whole house. So
yeah, we were renovating the whole house, and we're like, we're going to try to preserve as much as we possibly can. we are very big on that. And, you know, we even like the hardwood floors were beautiful, but we knew that we couldn't keep them because we were renovating the whole house. But we ripped up the hardwood floors and we actually put them in my mom's bedroom because
Really?
they're beautiful. Yeah, they're beautiful. They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, my mom, like I was saying, how she's like a really good decorator. She collects like doors and she puts them on like a mantle, like over the fire.
Sure. They make fire. I've seen that stuff. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. And so we took some of the doors were so beautiful. It was like, you know, it's an old house. It has such beautiful charm. We took one of the doors, one of them's the top of the mantle. Like any of the flowers that were going to get ruined, we took out, we put them in a different garden. Like, you know, we really do try to preserve as much as we possibly can. Or like, we really even like sometimes we'll either sell for like a really low price or just post on like Facebook Marketplace. Like there's this really, really cool old stove that was like antique-y and people like love it because like they collect those. Like, yeah. I don't want to throw everything in the dumpster just because like that's what you do as an investor. You go in and it's not, you know, I'd rather take that time and do the extra work so that somebody else can continue these memories with these
and it's
pieces.
good to recycle stuff. I lived in a house that was built in 1908. It eventually got torn down because it hadn't been cared for in a long time. We couldn't do it. Yep. I mean, it was like you could do it, but it wasn't going to be a good investment to do it.
Yeah.
You would have run into all kinds of problems. But when we finally had a garage sale and I got a guy who bought it who was looking for land, he tore the house down, unfortunately. But we had somebody buy the doors. We had somebody buy all the mortise and tenon joints that were on the locks because you couldn't get this stuff anymore. Somebody bought all those, the hinges off the doors. It had to be probably sandblasted or whatever, but you couldn't get any of this stuff, you know, in terms of the quality of it. And there was brass all in the house that could be rebrassed. And, you know, somebody bought it. I don't know what they did with it. They
don't make it the same way anymore. And
no.
I mean, for our Chatham house, so we took the front door. I mean, we weren't going to keep the front door. The size was changing, but the size worked perfectly for our neighbor who we're friends with now.
Oh,
and
that's
she's
nice.
Yeah. So we gave her the door and now she had it like refinished. It looks beautiful. Like it's perfect on her house. And it's for her too. I mean, she was really good friends with the owner of the house that we have. And, you know, she's no longer with us. And so for her, it's also like a memory of her friend that she grew up with. And so it's just a nice little piece that, you know, we do try to do for most of our projects because it's people. Like you're in a people industry. It's not just transactions. Like you gotta understand who people are. And that's like a big thing that we try to do. Like when we're trying to purchase a house, like it's like, what is the story? What is your story right now? What's the situation you're in? How can I help you make this the easiest transaction you could possibly do?
Right.
And like, does it work to our benefit? You know, I try like sometimes like I look at it too and I'm like, you know, are we doing the right thing? Like we're putting all this extra money on the line or we're offering, I mean, I've offered people that don't know where they're going to live. I've offered to put their stuff in a pod and pay for a pod for a couple months. Like I've offered to help people move. I've offered we offer a lot of things that probably aren't your typical,
right.
But I care about people. And that is one of the reasons that we got into this industry and we're like, how can we help other people? And, you know, what makes it easiest for you? Like what is your situation right now? And how can we help you? And so, you know, most of the properties were like, take what you want, leave what you don't want. I mean, I'm sure, you know, all of these stuff, but like leave whatever furniture, I don't care what you leave in the house, just leave whatever makes your life easier and we'll figure it out.
Right. When you're buying properties that need work, these are people that can't afford to do it. Maybe they're leaving for some other reason, but a lot of times they can't afford it. So with you helping them, it makes it easier as opposed to somebody just coming in and say, here, this is what I'm going to offer you. If you take it or leave it, get that stuff out of the house. I don't want to be bothered with it. Then they don't feel good about what's happening, you know, because a lot of it's emotion.
Yeah. And it is, you're dealing with emotions. You're dealing with somebody who's had maybe like their whole life here. Maybe like their parents passed away recently. You know, you don't know unless you ask what somebody else is going through. But then once you really figure out who that person is and what they need and how you can help them, that really is how we win most of our deals because we care. And that's who we are.
Just Devinne Properties, a business with a heart.
Yeah, thanks. But we care about people. And also like we have contracts that our contractors have to do whatever repairs on the house within a year after selling it. But we also tell the homeowner, here's our number. You call us if something needs to be like touched up. If you need something, like we'll do it because like we built this. This is who we are. And
right.
I'd never want you to struggle with something because something was done wrong, which I mean, I would like, that's my integrity. Like I would never want that. And so, I mean, for example, like we built like a house and the paint settled and there was like some cracks. I mean, it's normal. It's a brand new house.
Right. Of course it happens.
Like, but someone like they mentioned it to us and we're like, hey, we'll fix it. And they're like, really? We're like, yeah, we'll fix it. Like, I mean, the paint settled. Like, it's not like we did anything wrong. Nothing was.
No, well, you don't have to. I mean, it's just normal time, world settles.
Yeah. But I was like, no, that's like our integrity. That's who we are. Like, I don't, so what? It's a few extra bucks out of our pocket. I don't care. We made you a home or we made you a house that you're building into a home like that. It matters to us.
Well, I think a lot of that goes very far too. I mean, you don't do it just from a marketing standpoint. You do it because that's who you are and you care and you have a good heart and whatever. But I think in the end, it serves your business well too, because it's better for people to think of you like, yeah, well, what happened? Well, did they fix that? Yeah, they did. They came back and fixed it. She tells me she fixed anything. Really? Mom, my builder doesn't call me back. And that's a lot of these guys are in and out and then boom, 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 they go to the next job and they're just looking to make a buck and squeeze as much as they can out of it. And then you can't get them on the phone at the end. Sometimes I've had situations where builders just disappear. They're still owed a couple of grand, but they're so Peter to pay Paul, from Peter to Paul, left and right. And then they just go on to the next project and they forget about it. And I've had stuff literally that wasn't finished that we had to finish and owed him money and he never came back for the money or finishing it. So I don't know if it cost me more or less, but it was like he just moved on to the next project.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I do. I get it. And you're caught up like in the business, but I just think like that's just not how I was raised. And that like you gotta finish
the job.
Yeah. And
even if it's punch list stuff and it's just the way it is, you got to do it because you want to be, I mean, I guess you also want to have it finished. Like we did it,
Yeah.
Some people just looking for the next check. They get another $50,000 deposit, then move over to the next one,
I mean, it's a good problem to have. And I care deeply. And that is like something that will keep me up at night. Like I do care deeply about all the people that surround us. And I mean, I'm like both of us, like we're the ones that show up at the job site with a huge thing of donuts or lunch for the day or something else. Like, is it like we're supposed to be making money off of this deal? But at the same time, like, it's like I care about the people that are working for us. Like they're taking times out of their days. I mean, yeah, it's their job, but at the same time, they're people. Like we're all people and like we're all in this together. And so.
Right. Well, and if they have other jobs that they got to do and they got to choose, they'll choose you.
Yeah.
Because you treat them well.
Exactly.
So do you have any with
all of them too now? Like they're like family too. Like we show up and they're like, hey, like
right.
It's fun. And so it's good. And it makes for like, we recently brought on 2 new people to our business. And so it makes for like a fun environment. And it also helps us then show who we are and how we can kind of portray that onto other people. And then they're excited to talk about our business and how they work for us and what they do for us. And it's just like, it's fun. That's exactly what we wanted as starting a business.
Yeah, that's what so you just answered my question, but so you have 2 full-time employees now?
We do have, so they are both part-time, but we do have 2 part-time employees. One is,
but they're like office people. They're not on the job.
No. So we actually hired one. He is doing more of the construction. So he shows up on the projects. He's actually
like a foreman, basically. He's your foreman.
Yeah, he's actually, so he needed a college internship and just with the times and everything. So we actually brought him on as our intern. And he's great. So he goes to appointments when we need him to. He gives us a lot of his time. He has a truck, which is great because then he's like hauling stuff for us. He's actually helped like our contractor out. He's really interested in the construction space. So he's, we've just texted our contractor being like, hey, our intern is going to show up today. Teach him. And I love our contractor that way because he really is. I've never really seen him get mad. Like he's He's so chill, which is not normal for a contractor.
Right, probably not, no.
Yeah, he's so chill, and he just really is such a nice guy. And he's taught us so much about construction too, because that's not my background. I don't know much about it. And so same, like, he's teaching this guy who, who knows what it'll bring for him. But so it's cool too, because he's helped in that way. And then we have somebody else who I call our project manager, and she helps a lot with like the back end stuff of, like the utilities, making sure things are in line. She does a lot with the design stuff too, and like sourcing different stuff. Like I'll give her ideas of what I'm looking for, but to help me source different things of where I can get like what I'm looking for like a good price and what's in stock. And, especially with COVID right now, everything is behind.
Right. Hard to get.
And like a better way to put it, and hard to get. And
it's got disrupted.
Exactly. And so it's, she helps a lot with like more of like the research, and she'll go to like lighting stores for me, or she'll go different places. And they've both been like a blessing to have on the team. And it's fun to have like a team now. It's because it's always just been Justin and myself. And so it's fun to expand and have other people working with us too.
Yeah. Have you found it difficult? Because I know when you're dealing in real estate, you got to deal with municipalities, you got to deal with the government. There's licensing, there's issues, especially when you start working with homeowners. Then you're dealing with New Jersey consumer fraud is a ridiculous statute. Yeah. You're going to be liable for treble damages, attorney's fees, court costs, the whole thing. And there are, I know you find this hard to believe, but unscrupulous attorneys out there that are like trolling for homeowners that say, oh yeah, they didn't do it so great. Oh, we can sue the crap out of them, Yep. Have you found that to be, difficult? Because I find a lot of people I meet, they don't even realize. They're like, oh, really? I need to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think this goes kind of back to what we were just talking about. Like I'm honest almost to a fault, like even calling them like the municipality, like if when we get a house and I'm trying to figure out like what we can or can't do, I'm like, here, this is my idea. Like, I'm never going to hold it back, because I don't want them to then come back later and be like, why did you couldn't do this? Why you didn't get approval on this?
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, it's like a joke, but like, even like I call and I'm like, hey, do you care if I do this? Like, they're like, no, like, and I'm like,
I'm ask us for everything.
Honestly, that's what the guy said to me last time. He's like, I appreciate that you call me all the time to make sure like you're good. He's like, I obviously you wouldn't be calling me. How did he phrase it? But like, you wouldn't be calling me to ask me these questions if you were trying to get one over on me. And I was like, no, that's
clearly
like,
right.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't want you to come to the property and then be like, well, this, like, why did you do this? Take it down.
Yeah. And that's like, a costly mistake.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so I will say, like, we've actually gotten to be close, like with the people at the towns. And I respect them. I respect their job. And sometimes it takes a little like, let's bring a coffee in today, not during COVID. But
they're going to control whether you get approval, how fast you get approval. I remember we had a kitchen burst, a pipe or something. So we had just redone the kitchen.
Yeah.
Something happened with the builder. He like boxed in a pipe and he said, you want me to box it in? I didn't know he wouldn't insulate it. I mean, I'm not a builder. So the thing burst again after we lost the kitchen. We lost the kitchen during like one of the hurricanes. Then the thing burst. Oh. So then I called the town because I do work in the town, right? In my town. And I know this guy, Steve, and he's the municipal inspector, general inspector. I said, Steve, here, listen, let me tell you what happened. My wife and I, we have no kitchen now. We're like in the living room and whatever. He goes, listen, have the permits on my chair and I'll have you have your preliminaries in 3 days. Yeah. And the builder was not getting that for 2 weeks.
Yep.
They were so backed up. But knowing people and treating people well, there's a lot to be said for that, because they have the right to do whatever they want to do,
They do. I mean, knowing people, especially in the industry, is everything. And like I'm friends with like an investor who's renovating a house just around the corner. And she's like, I've been waiting for permits. And I'm like, really? Like I got them a long time ago. And she's like, how long did it take? I'm like, not even a week. Like, I don't know. Like it really is. It goes back to like putting your neck on the line, introducing yourself, networking, talking to people. Like, I mean, I do spend a lot of my time and like, some like when I look at it, like, is it beneficial all the time?
Well, obviously it is. If the person said they're still waiting for their permits, you got to
yeah. And like it drives like some people crazy, because I'm always the person like, hey, tell me about yourself. Like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? How long have you lived here? Like, I'm just always so intrigued by people that like, I don't know. Like I spend a lot of my time getting to know people, and it really has its, benefited us in our business, but I don't do it just to benefit us in our business. Like I do it honestly because I'm so intrigued by people, and I really
You're
like
genuinely curious.
Yeah. Like I just, and it's always like, I think then if you meet somebody and you can connect them to somebody else, like maybe like that's a win-win for them. Like I'm not looking for, I'm not looking for anything out of that. But like, I mean, we've even found like houses that way. Like I met the zoning officer and one of it. Yeah. And like someone would be like, how did you get this house? I'm like, I don't know. I was talking to the zoning officer and he said, oh, call this person. And I'm like,
he knows what's
okay,
going on.
Yeah. And they're like, well, how did you get the house? And I'm like, I don't know. I called the person the zoning officer told me to call, and I just talked to him. Like,
right.
Like it, a lot of it is relationship building.
A lot. Well, especially when you're looking for opportunities that have value in them and equity and, sweat equity. Yeah. And so those things are not going to hit the market through a broker. First of all, if there's anything good and even it debts to a broker, like a large house, it's going to be sold in-house, right?
Yeah.
And you want to get, that's part of, that's the art of the game, right? The renovation, the construction, you put a good team together. It's all mechanics at some point, you run a good ship and so forth. But finding the deal, sourcing the opportunities is always going to be not a skill. It's always going to be an art.
Yeah.
Who you meet and how you get in there. What, like you said, that house, you didn't get to buy it. It turns out an investor had it. But, if he didn't, and, there was some, spinster lady that got left it from her great grandmother and she was in a nursing home. So you probably would have found it and got it done.
Exactly. And it's, and then it's like, being friends with the people. Like I have, the zoning officer, because, towns closed down during COVID. Our permits weren't approved beforehand. And I mean, the zoning officer gave me his personal cell and was like, you call me if you have questions. Like I will give you an update. He called me at least once a week and gave me like updates. I mean, the second that they could do anything, like we had a call via Zoom, we were on that call, like, and I so appreciate it because like, I always say, like, I wish there was something like I could do for you because like you've done so much for us. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me because
but you know what? It doesn't work that way. He does something for you. You do something for someone else. They do something for this person. And then it gets back to them. You just don't know about it.
I know it's true.
That's the way it works,
It is true. But like, and I would never give out his number because I appreciate him giving his number. But like someone will be like, how did you get his number? I'm like, I don't know. He gave me his cell phone number. I don't know.
Will you give it to me? Well, I don't know really if I should.
No.
Right, exactly.
So
look, there's some towns, Devin, up here that because I do a lot of local builders and stuff. There's some towns where they just absolutely won't build in because the zoning official is a nightmare to deal with.
Yep.
And they don't, because a lot of zoning officials, if you have a relationship, they'll sit down and they'll say, well, let me tell you, if you do it this way, it's going to have to go to the planning board and you need approval. But if you move this, change this, add this over here, I can approve that. Like those are the good ones in the town.
Yeah.
They'll work with you. Because it costs you a fortune. You'd be waiting months and months and months. I mean, I have one right now. It's a hearing in December for a woman she's not in a rush, but she bought this property with a house on it. And it's basically a double lot. So her plan was the house is off to the right. So her plan was keep the house. I'm going to split the lot. This is going to be my retirement. And I'm going to build a house. And she's done it before. Well, we submitted this like in last fall. Was it the fall or got into the spring? It was like before COVID, but it was in and, working on it. And then the engineer came back and they said, well, if you're going to move this, and it opened up a whole Pandora's box. And now they're moving the driveway and it changed the whole thing. But there was no meetings. So now it's going to be a Zoom meeting December. I actually have to call her right after this to clear up some final issues. But it's just not. And the woman in the zoning office, very accommodating, she communicates with me via email. The engineer talked to me. I said, listen, this is what she's trying to do. Can we figure out how to do it? And then I found out that the guy who did the survey, he couldn't do drainage. They're like not licensed to do drainage. There was an issue about drainage. And I was like, why? Well, because they have to move the garage. So then we had to get someone else involved, and it's cost my clients some extra money. But, definitely having people that you deal with who are like, well, Devin, let me tell you how this is going to be easier for you. And let me tell you how it's going to be harder because you got to deal with 8 people that don't know you in front of a planning board.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, thank you. And it's just might be just a little alteration, Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's real estate's a fun but can be trying business. And if you can't kind of go part-time, I think, into real estate.
Yeah.
There's too much to know and learn and be control and get involved with and deal with. And yeah, it's just like that. Those are the bad experiences. The people that say, well, I own this condo, and then me and my wife moved out. We bought a house. We kept the condo, renting it out. It was a nightmare. We got fined by the town. That's because you don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
I mean, you had your friend move in without a CO because you didn't even know.
Yeah.
And then it's problematic. Yeah, definitely.
It is. Yeah. It's definitely, and you learn a lot from it. And I feel like they're like, like people always talk about like the rule book of life. Like you do this and that, like there's not a rule book for real estate. Like you don't do, it's like, if you do this, but this doesn't work out, then you do that, like there's like so many subcategories that you have to kind of learn. And a lot of it is just asking questions and surrounding yourself by, I always say surround yourself by people that are smarter than you in a room and learn from them too. And so,
yeah, if you could always do that, I think that's a good thing. Always keep up the ladder. How many projects you guys have going on right now? You said?
So when we close on these 2 in the next few weeks, we'll have 5 on our plate.
5 left that you're still working on.
Correct.
And is that your goal? Like to keep 5 going at any given time, between 5 and 7?
Yeah. I mean, I think like our goal overall is to do 7 projects in a year.
Yeah.
But
there's always gonna be an overlap, right? Because you're closing on these and bringing them in. It's not like 7 go, the year ends, they're done, and now you want to find the other 7. You won't work for 2 years,
Exactly. So yeah, we have like 2 of them we're finishing shortly. We're bringing 2 more on. So they do overlap within like a month.
So you are looking at properties all the time,
always
dealing with the projects that are going on, talking to your subs, right?
Yeah.
Dealing with the town. I mean, it's all going on at all different times at different. So what is your technique of keeping track of each of the projects? You have a separate like binder for each job, and then where you are with those jobs and so forth. What's your methodology?
Yeah, it's interesting because I do feel like I'm a very organized person.
You do. You feel you're organized? You're definitely organized. The way you're telling me, I could.
But it's interesting because now that we have 2 people that work with us too, like I almost have to get more organized in a different way so that other people can see it too. And so it's more so where can I put the documents so that they can view it as well.
Right.
So it kind of brings a new layer to it.
You guys work in the cloud? You like keep each project in the cloud? Yeah.
Everything's in the cloud. We use like different apps for like to-do lists and things that you can
share. So
correct.
What's going on.
Yep. We have like a shared calendar that all 4 of us can view. And it's just like what days are inspections, what's happening where, when. We do have someone that goes to our properties and takes videos and pictures throughout the project to document the process. So, it's good to share with him too. So he can see like, oh, they're putting siding up today. It's a good day to go take some pictures or videos.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
We don't. I need to create one actually.
Yeah, I have one. I don't have anything on it. Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, I do. We put it all on social media. So on Just the Buying Properties for Instagram and Facebook.
So the videos are on your website.
So they're doing videos as well for the website. Yes. So we just started working with him. Actually, it's been like a month now. So we have some footage that we need to get out there.
And do you have your own real estate podcast?
So I don't right now, which I will be working on shortly.
Yeah.
My fiance has the Alcoholic Entrepreneur. So he talks a lot about his journey and then also, in sobriety as well as in real estate.
So he talks about the recovery and the whole thing.
Yep. And he talks a lot about how being sober and going through that process is a lot of like the same mindset as being an entrepreneur and how they kind of relate together and just relating to a lot of people in business and real estate and in sobriety.
Good for him. Well, I'm sure it's therapeutic too to do that on a podcast.
Yeah, for sure. It's an amazing, it's called The Alcoholic Entrepreneur. So feel free to check it out.
And is there a date for your wedding? You're engaged. I mean,
we've been engaged for so long. I don't know.
You don't have it.
We don't have a date.
Miss Party Planner. You don't have event.
I know. Well, he used to be in the events industry as well. That's actually how we met. And so both of us were in hospitality. And I think it's funny because both of us like are horrible planners for ourselves, but good for everyone else.
Okay, so that's probably true for a lot of people.
Yeah, we don't have a date right now. We've been engaged for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at this point.
Okay.
We got engaged after 9 months of dating. So it's there, just haven't.
And it's still there, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's not like you can have a big wedding right now anyway. So make your money, do your stuff. Corona past couple of years, and you can have a real wedding as opposed to all these people that are like, yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you spending all this time with me and talking. And it was nice. We met through originally PodMax Global, right? The Global Podcast Summit, which people should look into if they want to guest and stuff. And then we were on, what's the show with Eric and Josh?
On Air Brands Live.
Oh, right. On Air Brands Live. I introduced Eric to a couple of people I thought would be good guests.
Oh, awesome. We love that. Yeah, it's been an honor working with those guys and being a co-host on that show and really diving into the podcasting world. So
how did you get hooked up with them?
One of my good friends who I was in event planning with for my corporate job, when we left the corporate world, she moved down to Tennessee to work for real estate investors, and somehow or another they weren't able to take a call that one day, and that call was with Eric. And so Eric was a needed event person, and she was like, oh, well, I live in Tennessee. And he's like, well, do you know anybody else? And he wasn't really looking, but like, he just like talking to my friend, and my friend was like, oh, I don't think that my best friend is going to get it. You know, she just got out of her corporate job, but you can try. And so I really liked him. I liked his energy. And so I work for him part-time.
So that's how it came about.
Yeah. So I do the events portion for PodMax part-time.
Again, it's networking.
If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Amazon Music, and many of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com. The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted and produced by me, Mitch Beinhacker. If you'd like more information about my legal services, you can find me on social media or visit my website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.